You don't want none! You don't want none!
What's going on, Tar Heel Nation? It is your favorite North Carolinian, Ross, the Tar Heel. And in this huddle, baby, we're going to recap the 2024 UNC football season. And I thought that this was the perfect time to do this, as we're about 5-6 hours removed from North Carolina getting absolutely mollywopped at the hands of the UConn Huskies in the Wasabi Fenway Bowl up in Boston. And my family is gone. They took a little trip, so they're out of the house right now. It's just me, Ramesses, a little bit of Stinking Crown, and Sprite, because I like to have a drink every once in a while. And, you know, moderation. Moderation is very important. But I figured we'd sit here and talk a little bit about the North Carolina football season, man. And I think I'm going to do a call-in show because I really want Tar Heel Nation's opinions, but I wanted to let you guys know a little bit about where I'm coming from right now. You know, a couple hours removed from a very disappointing defeat. Now, I'm going to try not to belabor this, but I will say this, man. I think it's very important that obviously, you know, we go back to 2019 and we understand where Carolina was, man. 5 wins in 2 seasons. We've been down this stinking road before. Carolina's in desperate need of somebody to reinvigorate this program, you know, put some juice back into it. And it was a controversial hire when Carolina decided to bring Mac Brown back. I was personally very excited about it. And I think that, you know, Mac had some things rolling. There were still some red flags, a couple of questionable coaching decisions, clock management issues, et cetera, et cetera. But, you know, for the most part, Carolina was rejuvenated. 2019, they're 7-6. They won the Military Bowl. You know, Carolina starts flipping some big name recruits. Obviously, they were able to get Sam Howell. You know, a year later, they're able to get Drake May, flip him from Alabama, which obviously he's a UNC legacy. But they're starting to keep some in-state talent in Chapel Hill, and we're kind of thinking things are rolling. Carolina kind of backdoors itself into an Orange Bowl bid. Almost beat Texas A&M with a couple of guys opting out. You know, obviously Michael Carter and Javonte Williams. And then that's when we had the, you know, we found out that Josh Downs was going to be that stinking dude. And then after that, man, you know, Carolina goes into Lane Stadium in 2021, top 10 team in the country. They lay an egg against Va Tech. They absolutely spin their wheels to a 6-7 2021 campaign where Carolina is embarrassed by South Carolina in the Duke's Mayo Bowl by a third-string quarterback who's actually a stinking wide receiver. And that was kind of like really for me the beginning of the end, if you will, man, because South Carolina is a rival of North Carolina's to a certain extent, and Carolina just absolutely did not show up in that bowl game. And that's when I really started seeing red flags. Now, a little bit of naivety, you know, I thought we'll get this fixed. Carolina comes back the next year. Drake May takes the stinking reins. I think Carolina at one point's 8-1. Just get an emotional victory over Wake Forest, only to lose to an atrocious Georgia Tech team at the house, which really sends the season into a tailspin. And Carolina somehow still finds their way into the ACC championship game where they got mollywopped. And I paid for me and my family to go up there, sit in that miserable weather and watch that at Bank of America Stadium. And then the next year after that, we're thinking, well, maybe, you know, maybe a second time's a charm. Drake May is one of the best quarterbacks in the country. He's going to be able to get it done for us. And same thing. Carolina ends up finishing the season once again 1-4 against P4 teams. They played pretty well against Oregon in the Holiday Bowl, but they aren't able to get it done. And that is right after they obviously just completely no-showed against NC State and Raleigh, which, once again, no show against South Carolina, no show against NC State. Those are unacceptable. when you're talking about being the University of North Carolina. And then you couple that with Mac Brown's comments about how he doesn't lose sleep when he loses to NC State or thinking about NC State, you know, and Donut Dave is over there in Raleigh talking all kinds of crap. And, you know, we're combating it by Mac Brown talking about it being classless, et cetera, and not wanting to mention any names. So, you know, that was kind of the beginning of the end, man. Now, I came into this season, you guys know that I picked North Carolina to finish 11-1. An abysmal daggone schedule in 2024. At Minnesota, Charlotte, North Carolina Central, James Madison is your non-con schedule in 2024. I'm thinking to myself, you get through Minnesota, you should be good to go. 3 straight home games at Kenan Stadium. At Duke, Pitt, Georgia Tech, at Virginia, at Florida State, which we all thought was going to be good, and they ended up being the worst team in the ACC. Wake Forest at BC, and NC State before UConn in the bowl game. Not one ranked team in that entire slate. And you got to remember, Carolina's got a senior class right now that is a part of a top 15 recruiting class. So there's no lack of talent on this roster. So bad schedule, Hall of Fame football coach, lots of talent on the roster. Maybe we still can get this thing done this year. All we got to do is find a quarterback because Drake May is gone. Max Johnson wins the job. And that kind of brings us to 2024. I know that was long-winded, but that brings us to 2024. And North Carolina goes out to Minneapolis, Minnesota to take on the Minnesota Golden Gophers in a Big Ten, a matchup against a Big Ten opponent. And it was stinking ugly. Absolutely stinking ugly. Starting quarterback goes down with a broken femur. Connor Harrell is put into the game. Does not look particularly good. But somehow with a missed field goal, Carolina's in, and they end up starting the season 1-0. And that might have been the one up, you know, for the season. Week 1, Minnesota missing a field goal and Carolina getting a W against a Big Ten opponent to start the season. So obviously Max Johnson's out. Connor Harrell's given the stinking reins and plays against Charlotte. You know, does okay. North Carolina Central, not particularly well. Jacoby Criswell ends up getting inserted in the game, and O'Marion Hampton takes over in that one. Now, Carolina was only up by like 17-10? Something crazy like that. Going into the fourth quarter, and then they put up 28, if I'm not mistaken, in the fourth to completely run Central out of the daggone building, and they started 3-0. And so the offense wasn't beautiful. You know, we were struggling in the passing game. Wide receivers aren't getting any separation. We're not getting tremendous quarterback play. But we're saying to ourselves, if we can just get some good play from under center, we will be okay, because the defense at that point was only averaging giving up about 15, 16 points a game. Right? Well, in rolls JMU, bro. JMU, beautiful day in Kenan Stadium. Fans don't show up. Players don't show up. Mac Brown doesn't show up. And the James Madison Dukes end up stinking rolling us 70-50. North Carolina gave up 70 points to JMU, the same team that I think scored, what was it? It was something stupid, bro, like 13 against Gardner-Webb the week prior. Or I think it was before a bye week. So 13 to stinking 9 against Gardner-Webb or something crazy like that. And then they dropped 70 against the Heels in Kenan Stadium. Talk about an embarrassment, man. It was an absolute embarrassment, bro. And all of a sudden, you know, you're getting all these reports out of the locker room that Mac Brown's telling guys that he's going to step down and they don't want to play for him. There's like 17 different stories about what actually transpired in the locker room after that game. But he just chalked it up to, hey, it was a misunderstanding. You know, I do want to coach this team, and I want to be here for the remainder of the season. I'm sitting here watching BYU just take one to the house against Colorado. 17-0 BYU. Pretty crazy. Wish Carolina could have done something like that today. Oh, yeah, they did. Chris Culliver, shout out, man. Little return, little touchdown return. Sorry to sidetrack, man, but I'm sitting here watching the game as well. So JMU comes in, gives us our first stinking loss. And, just the whole world is on fire. And, perfect game to come out of that one. The Victory Bell in Durham. You could not ask for probably what I thought at the time is a better game to get that bad taste out of your mouth. Go take it out on your stinking rival. So Carolina does that, man. They go out there to Durham. They're up 20-0 at the half. Defense is playing well. Malik Murphy can't do anything. Carolina's defenders are being in their run fits, man. I mean, they're just not getting anything in the pass game or the run game. Carolina's up 20-0. And then they no-showed in the second half. And Duke overcomes a 20-point deficit to beat North Carolina 21-20 and take the Victory Bell out of Chapel Hill. So now you've dropped 2 straight. 1 to JMU and then 1 to your stinking rival. And, wow, the wheels started to stink and come off. In comes Pitt. Carolina was never even they weren't even really competitive in that ball game, to be completely honest with you. Pitt ends up walking out there with a 10-point W. Eli Holstein spinning that thing around. They can't stop him on the ground either. And then you follow that up as Carolina's 3-3 with Carolina's nightmare team, the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. And Carolina had an opportunity to win that game. Carolina had an opportunity. As bad as they played, Carolina had an opportunity to win that game. They had the ball inside the stinking Georgia Tech 10 with about a minute to play. Timeouts, etc., etc. And Chip Lindsey, in his infinite wisdom, and Mac Brown, who didn't do anything about it, threw the stinking rock 3 separate times. I think there was a sack in there and 2 incomplete passes. And then North Carolina ends up settling for a field goal to tie the game. And they give Georgia Tech just enough time to walk it off with a Jamal Haynes 67-yard touchdown run right up the middle, untouched. It was just an embarrassment, bro. Once again, an absolute embarrassment. So Carolina goes to 3-4. And keep in mind, Max Johnson's got a broken femur. Kamen Rucker's not playing because he's had surgery. And Carolina's on a 4-game losing streak now. And then the worst news possible comes out, man. Tylee Craft has passed away after a long bout with cancer, man. And it was a heart tugger. I mean, obviously for everybody in Chapel Hill, everybody familiar with the program, everybody that cares about the program, you hate it, obviously. You absolutely hate it. And Carolina goes into that first bye week 3-4, man. 3-4 on a 4-game losing streak. Some embarrassing losses. And then you also couple that with the passing of Tylee Craft, man. It's rough. And, the Heels are, that bye week couldn't have come at a better time. So bye week comes, they're dealing with all this emotion. And they end up playing some spirited football, man, out of the break. Now, they didn't play very good teams, Virginia and Florida State, in Charlottesville and Tallahassee, but they played some good daggone football, man. They ran the football. They ran it right at them. They got the job done, and that was good to see. So Carolina improves to 5-4. I go out there to the Wake Forest game November 16th for my birthday. Carolina gets a 7-point victory against Wake Forest. Doesn't put them away. It's a cold night. But it is what it is. They got the W, bowl eligible. And that was, I guess, all the juice they had, because what follows after that is a no-show against Boston College. And then once again, a NC State team that's, for all intents and purposes, not very good, comes into Chapel Hill and beats North Carolina for the 4th straight season, which is unacceptable, obviously. Absolutely unacceptable, and that brings Carolina to 6-6, and it enabled NC State to be bowl eligible, which they're playing ECU right now. So, I mean, it just could not get worse than how the season ended. Well, it actually did get worse, because North Carolina ends up firing Mac Brown November 26th, and we go through a week and a half period where we're trying to find out who in the hell our next football coach is going to be. And we're looking at the Tulane head coach. We're looking at Iowa State's head coach. They're looking at Munkin from Army. I mean, there's all these names surfacing, and then all of a sudden, you hear a name that nobody thought was possible. Bill Belichick. And after a week and a half of not knowing what's going on, man, my guy takes a stinking job, and we got a little bit of fool's gold. In that, I think a lot of us, including myself, thought all of a sudden that the culture was going to shift. It was going to change. And obviously, that's not the case. But it's not the case because of Bill Belichick. It's the case because Bill Belichick allowed to do what he needed to do with this football team, and he didn't put his fingers on this thing. This is straight up the remnants of the Mac Brown 2.0 era. And boy, did we not see that against UConn. 24-7 at the half. Carolina had like 45 yards of total offense. I think at one point late in the second, they had 13 yards passing, negative 13 yards rushing for 0 yards. And that team just was not put in very good positions to win. And once again, Carolina just looks listless in the bowl game. And that's how 2024 ended. It sucked. It sucked because you want to go in with a W. I mean, a 4 straight losses in bowl game streak, and you just compound it by losing to the UConn Huskies, the same team that so many of these people said that team's supposed to be, they should go back to Division II, FCS, whatever the heck it's called anymore, dude. And Carolina can't get it done, man. Get dominated in the trenches, bro. They just gash us at the run game, and we can't get anything started in the run game until like the fourth quarter. The final score, 27-14, was not even close to as indicative of what kind of ass whooping that was. And it really does call into question, you know, why in the world Freddie Kitchens would be retained by this staff after putting that product on the field, because after 2.5, 3 weeks, man, that was bad. And I don't care how many opt-outs you got, you're not playing Alabama, you're playing UConn. So it was unacceptable to say the least. Absolutely demolished on national television. So that's kind of where we're at, man. That's kind of where we're at with 24. Now, this is what I'll say, and this is the important thing that I want Tar Heel Nation to understand. Nothing that you saw up to that point against the UConn Huskies, nothing has anything to do with Bill Belichick. And it hurts. It stings. I can't stand it. People are going to talk crap. You know, people are already clowning me because I picked Carolina to be 11-1 and they didn't even finish 500, and understandably so. But today is today, and tomorrow it's Bill Belichick's team. And tomorrow starts the next 8 months of actually changing the culture in this football program in the Keenan Football Center, because what you saw right there, once again, from coaching staff to players, and there were some players that played hard. Shout out Chris Culliver. Shout out Amari Campbell. Shout out Caleb Lavale, who was flying around, bro. There were some players that played hard. But largely, in part, man, you saw the lack of football culture. And that's what he's going to change. And it's not just, you know, the rah-rah stuff, man. It's getting personnel in place that want to be there. They want to play football. They want to play hard. So 2024, man, was not at all what we thought it was going to be. It's not at all what we anticipated. I know a lot of us had, cautious optimism for this football team, and it just never came to fruition. And I will say that they did go through a ton of things that a lot of teams don't go through. Starting quarterback goes down week 1. Best defender has surgery. Second, third, fourth game of the season. You lose a teammate to a long battle with cancer. You know, your head coach is talking about quitting in the locker room, only to stink and stay on staff, obviously. You go through a 4-game losing streak, including getting 70 dropped on you by JMU, losing the victory bell to the Duke Blue Devils. Having Georgia Tech walk it off on you. You lost to NC State for the 4th stinking time in a row, and then you got absolutely drubbed by UConn in the bowl game, dude. It's been a rough year. Mac Brown's fired. Bill Belichick's hired. Last month has been absolutely pandemonium because Carolina's all over every stinking sports news media site. It's been a lot to deal with, man. It has been an absolute stinking roller coaster in the Keenan Football Center, man. And like I said, the one thing that I want you guys to understand is this. Everything up to today has very little, if nothing at all, to do with Bill Belichick. But starting tomorrow, the clock starts, baby. All right? And the GOAT is in town. And this is the GOAT's program. This is the GOAT's program. So, rough way to end the season, man. I can't stand it. It hurts my stinking soul, to lose to that team and to go out the way that we did. But what are you going to do, man? What are you going to do? And at the end of the day, like a lot of people said, man, what did we really expect from the culture that Mac Brown had instilled in that football program? I do believe that is the last you will see of that garbage. I really do. 100%. Because I have full faith that my guy Bill Belichick is going to stink and handle business, man. This Ramesses barking because he's excited as well. So, I want to know what you think, Tar Heel Nation, down in the comments section, man. What do you think about this football season? How exhausted are you? And how happy are you that this thing is done so that we can look forward to 2025? Legitimately, man, I hate it when it's not football season because I love my Carolina football. But quite frankly, man, it has been exhausting. Not only as a fan, but as a content creator. And goodness, man, I'm just excited for 2025, which I'm hoping will be filled with a lot more woo, as opposed to, oh my stinking goodness. So, like I said, you let me know what you think about this football season down in the comment section, man. If you haven't already, do me a favor, baby. Like, share, and subscribe to the channel. We will be doing all kinds of content, leading up to football season. And we're still in the middle of basketball season. So, rough season, baby. I appreciate all the Huddle hooligans, man, that been hanging out with me all throughout the stinking year. I appreciate everybody that subscribed to the channel. And it's been a constant on the live reaction and watch parties. The guys that have enjoyed the skits and, watched the videos, I appreciate you guys and thank you for everything that you've done. And there it is, man. End of an era, but the best is it's yet to come, man. So I love you, Tar Heel Nation, and we will see you on the next one, baby. Go Heels.